So, computer-generated chess problem 00982 by Chesthetica. Now in this position, white is down by approximately a piece, and yet he can win. Some interesting features are the black knight on f1, which is in a position to be captured by the rook, and also the pawn on a7, which is about to promote, but the black rook on a5 prevents that. So let's take a look at some analysis. Okay, the key move that wins is rook to a1. But before that, let's see why rook captures f1 doesn't quite work. Because after, for example, bishop to g7 check, and then maybe king to b3, there would be no point playing rook to b5 here, because then king to c4, and the rook has to go back to a5 to guard the pawn. So bishop captures b2, and then if the king captures b2, rook captures a7, and the game is basically drawn, with black being slightly ahead in material. So here white might play a rook to f7, black might play bishop to d4, king to b4, rook to a2, g7, bishop captures g7, rook captures g7, knight to g3, and we are drawn, more or less. So capturing the knight on f1 is not how to win. And what about, for example, if white had played rook to e8? Well, this would be a losing move, because then we have got bishop to g7, and then maybe king to b3, and then after rook captures a7, black is ahead in material, and white doesn't have any foreseeable threats. Now this move, rook to a1, is what wins. The rook cannot capture a1, because after bishop captures a1, there's no way to stop the pawn from promoting. You might have bishop to g7 check, and then d4, and white will promote and win the game. So black could play, for example, rook to c5 check, and then maybe king to d4, rook to c8, king to d5, rook to a8, rook captures f1. If the rook captures a7, then rook will capture the bishop on f8. So knight to g3, rook moves to f7, king to h3, g7, bishop captures g7, bishop captures g7, king captures h4, bishop captures h6, king to g4, d4, and basically white has got two pawns ahead of black and will win eventually. So that defense doesn't work. What about rook captures a7? Well, then rook captures a7, and here black seems like he might still have a chance, because the material difference is only one pawn unit. So knight f to g3, and then king to b3, knight f5, rook to f7, knight captures h4, rook captures f8, knight captures g6. Black here hopes to reduce the number of pawns white has, rook to f6, knight h4, rook captures h6. And now black only has two knights, and white is definitely on his way to winning. So the key move to this study is not to capture the tempting knight on f1, but rather simply to move the rook to a1, leaving the ball in black's court, and black doesn't really have any winning moves, even though white is behind in material. Until next time.